Indiana just gave hope to every non-blue blood in college football, but can Colorado follow their momentum and get a championship of their own? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Joining me today is Dukes the Scoop. Dukes, I appreciate you hopping on. We are brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcasting network in the business. We're going to be talking about, can Colorado become the next Indiana? Obviously, Curt Cignetti only been in Indiana for 2 years, but that's the blueprint, right? That is what everyone wants to do, is sort of, if you're not going to be outspending everybody for blue chip recruits, you have to win via the portal. And Coach Prime has already said he plans to do that. I just think that there's a few minor tweaks that need to be made. We're going to talk about those tweaks. I think we're starting to see them being made already and his philosophy change. And then later, I'm going to be talking about Jaden Hardy, the Oklahoma transfer, with another special guest. So you guys will want to stay tuned for that. Dukes, Indiana, I mean, what a story, right? It's a very interesting, like, my entire lifetime, I don't think I ever watched an Indiana game up until maybe last year, at least not on purpose, right? Indiana has been the most irrelevant program. They were the losingest program in college football history heading into this season. And then they go out and become the third team ever, which they joined North Dakota State and Yale back in the 1800s, to go 16-0. And the blueprint was older guys, which I don't think we'll ever see rosters of that age again because the COVID guys are all sort of filtering out. But they were older guys through the portal, G5, a lot of G5 guys at least, FCS guys who are hungry. Can Colorado sort of emulate that and do that on their own with Coach Prime?
Absolutely, I think they can. I think "can" is a very nuanced word. Like, can they do it? Yes. Will they do it? Remains to be seen. But they absolutely can do it. I think the talent level that you have there in Boulder now is way different than last year, and it's not just because guys weren't talented. Because you saw there were a lot of players from Colorado's team that found homes, and SEC homes, Power 4 homes. But also, it's the gel. It's how do they come together? How do they merge? And I think that's what Indiana did a really good job with, was bringing the JMU culture there and having people buy into it. I think I think Coach Prime did a lot of that with Jackson State. But after that Jackson State kind of class, kind of like their tenure was kind of over, last year you didn't have a lot of that residual leadership that you needed. So one of the suggestions that are not even one of my opinions going throughout the season were kind of when I saw things going left, I was like, if you're going to FCS, get captains. If you go in a group of 5, get as many captains as you can get. Get people who check in Atlanta, we call it the Falcon filter, because after the Michael Vick scandal or whatever, they said that there was a Falcon filter and they wanted to go character. Now, you can't go all character, because a great head coach told me this 2 days ago, because to win championships, you need character and characters. So you need a little bit of both. But I think the blend was a little bit off last year. So I think now going character heavy and mixing it in with a few characters is where you want to be as far as Colorado. So when you look at Indiana's roster, you look at former 5-star guys. You look at a guy like E.J. Williams, who's been playing college, who was looked at as the next big thing at wide receiver a few years ago when he was at Clemson as a true freshman, balling out on a large stage. Some injuries happened, and he got his second chance at Indiana and took full advantage. So those are the type of stories that you want to hear. But with Colorado, you got guys who've been highly productive on G5. You got guys who've been highly recruited and didn't have the same production. But like I take Richard Young, for example. He's the guy who, like a D'Angelo Pons, kind of where you know what you're going to get from him. D'Angelo Pons was the guy, sticky in coverage, may not be the biggest, but very sticky in coverage. You put him in, man. You can put him on the boundary side if you need him to make a tackle, but you can also play him to the field. You know what he is. Richard Young is, listen, I'm 220-something pounds. I'm going to run the ball hard. It's not going to be a ton of shake, but I'm going to run the ball hard. Knowing what you have in certain positions, like, hey, listen, this is my card here. This is what I do. And understanding who and what you have is how Indiana was able to build that identity. It said, we're going to have a bunch of guys that play their role, and we're going to have a trigger man that can do it all. And I think that's how Colorado can win. Have a bunch of guys high in character that know what their role is, know what their calling card is, and then you blend that with a successful trigger man, and that's how you can play football in December if you're Colorado.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. And honestly, when you look at Indiana, it's almost weird to see it come together. And it's just you look at some of these guys that they brought in, and I feel like we go through the same thing every year where it's like, oh my gosh, Colorado's bringing in a bunch of G5 guys, FCS guys. Fernando Mendoza is the hottest thing since sliced bread right now. He was at Cal. And like I would say most people outside of California were not familiar with him, nor did they think he was that good. And so I think sometimes it's all about getting the right people coached by the right people, right? Brendan Marion, I think, changes the game a lot for Colorado on offense. I think he's going to revitalize an offense last year that I thought was going to be high power, high octane, and it just didn't seem like they had the right fit. They didn't have the right scheme, and things got complicated. Whereas Brendan Marion, I think he's going to play into the strengths of his offense, which we saw Indiana do that. Indiana all season long, they fed Elijah Surratt, they fed Cooper, they fed the other wide receiver, his name's Becker. He came on at the end of the year because the other guys got hurt, and then they ran the ball down your throats whenever they could. Like they had a very simple, straightforward plan, and they stuck to it. I think Colorado's issues that have plagued them have been finding an identity. I don't think they're last year. I think if you would have asked Colorado what their identity was, they would have said, I don't know, because they were talking about finding it like 3 to 4 weeks into the season. You never want to be in that position. I think Brendan Marion helps them find an identity. The other thing that Indiana has that Colorado, I think, could have and will strive to have is continuity. Robert Livingston's back. I think Brendan Marion signed on for a couple years. So having those guys around you, like the one thing that Kurt Cignetti, I don't think gets enough credit for is building his staff, because they've been with him the entire time. Like there is no, and I'm sure he'll experience attrition because his staff's going to be picked apart eventually to be head coaches or go to other programs. But he has been able to build his staff and keep those guys around. So Dukes, one final thing about this Indiana question: what is like the missing piece for Colorado right now, in your opinion? Like for them to take that step and like be a contender?
Trench play.
Okay.
Indiana was really good on the line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball. They didn't have the biggest guys. They didn't have on the defensive line. They had guys, and you probably saw some of the memes where they showed the size disparity between Miami's offensive line and Indiana's defensive line. But they had guys who knew how to play, experienced guys, and guys who had just enough twitch to be able to counteract that size disadvantage. I think that's where Colorado has to be good at, on the line of scrimmage. Can you get a first down when needed? If it started like the confidence that Indiana had on fourth down to continue to go for it wasn't about just who the quarterback was or the offense. It was about we trust our offensive line. And the same thing as far as the defense is like, you know what? We can rush forward and get home, and we can play coverage when we play these guys, or we're good enough that D'Angelo Pines doesn't need. But if we get the ball out in 3 to 4 seconds, he's going to be good. So that comes from the defensive line. So I think the trenches is that's where champions are made, and that's how you play football well into the playoffs. And if you look at all the teams in the Final Four, they all strive to be good in the trenches, and I think that's going to be the difference maker.
Yeah, it always comes down to the big fellas. It's never the sexiest positions, right? We always want it to be the wide receivers and the running backs, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the guys that weigh 270 and more. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Colorado's philosophy change. It's been very evident this offseason, but we're going to dive into it a little bit more. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. Guess what? FanDuel's in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action, because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. So each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like the most, whether that's an underdog, a favorite, whatever it is. Make the bets a little bit more juicy. So you can make your picks, then apply your profit boost to get even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day, excuse me. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. It's me, it's Duke the Scoop. We appreciate you guys tuning in, making us your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Dukes, let's talk philosophy change. Last year, I feel like Colorado was, in a way, big game hunting, kind of, where they went after a lot of guys who are at P4 programs. Some of them had a lot of experience. Others were, I would say, former blue chip guys or just guys that were at big schools that needed an opportunity. And some of them worked out, some of them did not. And I think now Colorado has completely shifted their mentality. They're getting guys that are hungry. They're getting guys that are looking to prove they could play at this level. What have you noticed most in their change of philosophy?
I would probably say just I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the philosophy changed a ton. What I would say is the process changed.
Hmm.
Uh, when I think you always wanted the guys who are like who are gonna be fast, physical, had tools. Because you look at the FCS and the G5 guys they brought last year. You look at Sincere Brown who came from Campbell, that's the FCS school. You look at Tion Parker. You look at all of these guys that they brought. What's my man from Wyoming? I forget his name, but
Tyrekus Davis. Yeah.
Tyrekus Davis. You look at Sean Kemp.
Mhm.
Is that from is his name Kemp? Not Kemp. Sean
Alexander.
from North Alabama.
Yeah.
The
I got you.
linebacker. Sean Myers.
Yeah. Sean
Look at
Alexander.
Sean
Wrong guy.
Myers. Right. So you look, they had the same mentality last year. What I think
Mhm.
is it's the process being different. It's
Mhm.
Coach Prime literally going and watching every set of film that's allowed to come on the team. I happened to be there in Colorado in December, and watching him and Coach Box go through film, and I'm just I'm passing through and I'm over here and I'm talking, and we're talking about like a third string guy, like a potentially a depth guy, somebody who you weren't going to pay a ton of money to. That Coach Prime is watching this film as if he's going to be a 5-star guy who you're going to pay a ton of money to. He literally watched everybody in there, and it's not just Coach Prime. It's Ray Forsett, it's Coach Box, it's their evaluation team, it's the coaching staff. Me walking in and watching. I also got to see the recruiting room. They got a bunch of computers set up, and it's like an assembly line. And there's film here. Okay, there's a maker here, and now you have the coaches. This is where the coaches are going to watch, and the coaches are going to watch, and then here's the coordinator going to watch, and the coordinator. And these got the synergy that I saw in the process may have been the biggest philosophy change more than anything. I would say it's more process based than it would be player based.
Interesting. I like that because the one thing that was really interesting that Coach Prime said was he's watching everyone's film, and obviously, like it's hard to hold that against him last year because he was dealing with this little thing, cancer. It was a pretty big deal, right? And so, he wasn't able to just be fully locked in that sense. But it's clear that he has figured out a way to make sure everyone's on the same page. Because I think a lot of people, what they don't realize when it comes to a college football program is if the offensive coordinator likes a guy, he's recruiting them, but that doesn't mean he's found him, right? The wide receiver coach may go, "Hey, Dukes, I found this guy from insert school here. I think he could be good for your offense." And that's usually how players are found. So I think Colorado just didn't have the process locked down, I guess, in the past. And so now what I'm hearing is like you said, assembly line. That's the perfect, I guess, analogy because when you think of an assembly line, it's like, okay, we put the tires on here. Okay, now we're putting the shocks on here. Now we're putting the steering wheel over here. Like they are making sure that it goes through everybody. So it's a collaborative effort. It's a team effort to find the right people. In terms of, I guess, the process changing, how do you think that's helped them find these guys? Like I think there's 10,000 guys in the portal. So how do they find the Colorado guys? Do you think there's any difference there?
So I would say it's not necessarily just finding the Colorado guy. It's the quality check at the end. So if anybody's ever worked in manufacturing, you can make a product and it can look right, but there can be a defect that only a QC or a quality checker will check at the end. I think character is the and fit is the QC that they put at the end. Whether that's Coach Prime, whether that's one of the new coordinators, there was multiple people going to check in and say, all right, well, let's see, parents, let's talk to the old coaches, let's talk to the old weight room coach. Why was he made a captain? Why wasn't he a captain? That portion of the quality to find the fit, I think was really something that I saw that I paid attention to. Now I'm not sure how much they did it last year, but I definitely don't feel like they put as much of an emphasis as they have this year on finding culture fit. What have you done? Who coached you in high school? Oh yeah, we know him. We know this will work. Or will he work with these guys? Like some of or some of the guys who departed may not have been. It's not that you weren't supremely talented. Do you fit where we want to go? And not and I think there's I don't think they did a horrible job of finding talent last year. I don't think Corey Phillips was just like, oh, he's just the worst in the world. I just think the process as a whole just has an upgrade now. And I think Coach Prime has a lot to do with that. I mean, just to be honest, when your head coach is away because he's battling a life-threatening disease that is terminal for some people, of course, some things are going to kind of fall through the cracks a little bit. So by having someone there,
he's a little busy.
yeah, exactly. Like, I'm fighting bladder cancer, but hey, man, let me call this guy's high school coach. It doesn't work that way, right? So, but now being able to see, like, you can see the difference. You see how many more pictures of Coach Prime on that recruiting wall background that you may not have seen in the spring portal last year. So I think the time and all of that matters, but I think it's the quality check at the end that's probably going to pay the most dividends this go around.
Interesting. Okay. And I also think, and this is just the one thing that the NCAA has done semi-right, is they made one window for the portal. And I think Coach Prime and every coach really in college football, they probably, that meme where it's like the video game guy like starts to take it serious. He leans forward. Like everyone gets one shot at this. There is no spring window to sort of save you from being like, okay, well, we went through spring football, or we went through, I guess, the camp, and our linebackers aren't very good. So now we need to go add some guys here. Like there is none of that. Like, so it is all in this time. So that makes sense why they wanted to perfect the process, because if you don't have the right process in place, it's not going to set your team up for success down the road. Dukes, I appreciate you for hopping on. Tell people where they could find you, because you got great insight and you always got great hats also.
Oh, man, I appreciate it, man. Well, when this thing's starting to go away a little bit, you got to keep a hat on every now and then. So, hey, man, but now catch me on The Scoop with Dukes. You can just put Dukes D Scoop in on YouTube, and I got some good stuff going on. Just did some good work with the guys at DNVR. And shoot, man, we'll have some player interviews, and always, and we got to get Kevin Borba on the channel there. So, Kev, when you get time, please join me.
Of course. I always will. And you guys know where to find me over here at Locked On Buffs. Make sure to stay tuned, because we're going to learn everything you need to know about Oklahoma safety Jaden Hardy. I will see you guys soon. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life, believe it or not. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off and move on with your day and just be done. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you, literally done for you, by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. So instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, and you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online, so that way you're not Googling, do I need this form? What does it mean if this is blank? Whatever, right? They help you. They do it for you. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have all your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Joining me today is Locked On Sooners' very own Jay Smith. Jay, we have to talk about Colorado's addition of Jaden Hardy, because I think it's an under-the-radar addition, especially the more I've talked to you about it. And you look at the rankings in the portal, he's in the 900s for overall players in 24/7. It doesn't do it justice, but talk to me about what Colorado's getting in young Mr. Jaden Hardy, besides the teammate the son of Deion Sanders' former teammate.
Yeah. So, of course, you get someone that comes from the lineage of NFL players, right? That's always a plus. And being the son of a player that played with Coach Prime at two spots, not only Atlanta, but also in Dallas. So he's got a ring. Can't beat that, right? It's always fun to get a ring no matter how you get it. But no, Hardy was a really good prospect for Oklahoma. And he was a 4-star, top 300 player in the country. I'm going to be honest with all of you, and this is not me trying to gas anybody up or gaslight you in any capacity. It kind of hurt seeing him going in the portal. Let me explain why. In that class, when he came in, there were three guys. We call him the three-headed monster of safeties. You had Jaden Hardy, you had Reggie Powers III, as well as Michael Boganowski. Now, Reggie Powers plays at what BV calls the cheater role. So it's basically like a quote-unquote undersized linebacker, but they're more so a bigger DB. And so usually your hardest hitters, guys that can cut playing coverage, also can play off the edge, play that role. Boganowski is back there at free safety-ish, mixture of free safety, strong safety, and he's one that's built to go downhill all the time. Hardy was the third dude that was supposed to play in that three-man setup, as either a free safety or switch into strong, depending on what was needed. And the only reason why he's not starting this season is because a 5-star safety, Peyton Bowen, is still on the roster. He came back for his senior year. So he's been in the system 4 years, whereas Jaden will be going into his third. He's right behind Peyton. And when Hardy got in there, he had 168 snaps. He got the opportunity to play in some key and critical moments. So for the uninitiated here, the way Brent Venables does his defense is he rotates a lot of guys. So like I said, Hardy had 168 snaps. He had an okay amount of snaps in there, but when he rotates guys, he doesn't just rotate them in garbage time. Some of these players play in critical moments. Like if you go watch, it wasn't his proudest moment, but if you go watch in those playoffs, Jaden Hardy was playing against Alabama on a third down. Unfortunately, that corner route got him. He got beat on it. I think he just kind of moved up a little bit too far, anticipating something going to their tight end. But he played in some critical moments in that game. And so because of that, he's got the experience that, truth be told, he's going to be able to bring some good stuff there to Boulder.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing, too, that you mentioned as well is like, and this is just sort of like, I'm going to call it a disease we have. And like when we get transfers in college football, it's like we look at the stats and we go, okay, 12 tackles, whatever it is, not that good. But I think there is something valuable, even though he had a smaller role, in being a part of a team that made it to the playoff, a team where he got to play in SEC games. He got to play against major opponents. And so the one thing that really interests me is Colorado lost both their safeties, right? One of them was at Texas A&M, the other one's at Arkansas. So what is, and I like to ask this question to other hosts, what is like the perfect storm for Jaden Hardy at Colorado? Like, although if you look at the ratings and the stats, everyone's just like, okay, reserve. But I don't think that's his ceiling. And I would imagine you agree with that.
No, his ceiling is a starter. Again, if Peyton Bowen wasn't here, he was the starting safety. And for him, it's more of now he's going into his third year in college football, which would be I think he's a red shirt. So this would be technically his red shirt sophomore season going into next year. He's got a ceiling of being a starter at the safety role. He has some pretty good instincts. He does well. He's a good tackler typically. Like, I mean, he's had moments where he wasn't all that great in some of the lower end talent. It was more so, overcommitting, trying to hit really hard. But go looking at him in like the Tennessee game and Alabama game, the first time they played, he has a very high 76 and 78 grade on his tackles in those games. He does a really good job of that. He tackles people. And he also forced that fumble against Alabama on the punt return. He was great on special teams. That led to Oklahoma scoring a touchdown. So he does a really good job of that. He's a good ball hawk. He got an interception last season. He got the first interception this season for Oklahoma. The first turnover period. Like he was able to, actually we got the second turnover. He got the first one was a fumble recovered for a touchdown, but he got the interception in that game as well. So he kind of helped open the floodgates for Oklahoma to get turnovers. But no, his ceiling is pretty high. So I'd say for him, perfect storm starter. He probably a really good free safety. He does a better job of being loose and moving around and stuff. I think Randon Fontenette is most likely going to be the starter at strong. You could, like I said, they can be interchanged. But I watched a lot of Fontenette there at Vanderbilt. Dog, he is good. Like, he's going to be a fun player to play there, and especially in the Big 12. But I think Jaden Hardy can be one of the top ones there in the Big 12, no problem.
Yeah, I think the thing with Fontenette too is I keep comparing him to Isaiah Simmons, and I don't think they're built the same, like body wise, but just like they play like kind of everywhere. Like Brandon Fontenette, I was looking him up and watching his film, and I'm like, okay, he's playing in the box a lot, or he's like, I'm like, is he rushing the passer here from the edge? Like, what's going on? And so like they used him all over, which I think in Hardy's case will help him because Colorado has really focused on versatility in the safety room rather than just being like, okay, this is our every down safety, and he's going to be back there and he's going to be back there, because I think that gives him more opportunities to play. If there was one thing outside of obviously Bowen being there, like I think that's like sort of the obvious answer. Why didn't it, I don't want to say work out because that doesn't seem fair to him, but why didn't it just happen for him? Like you said, he was a part of a 3-man class. Like why wasn't he the front runner of that class in your opinion?
So last season coming in, like this past season, it was, like I said, the mention of 3 players. Reggie Powers has the third has a different skill set. than the others. Like he's really good in coverage on top of being a hard hitter and a good run stopper. The cheater role is what they call it. It's a hybrid of a DB and a linebacker that plays in Brent Venables' defense. So it's basically a third linebacker while also being a nickel corner at the same time. So you got a blitz off the edge, be prepared to play in the middle, run stopper, while also playing out in coverage, flats, deep, all of that. Reggie has, of the three, to me, I think he's the better one that can do all of that, no problem. Hardy showed his ability of being in the middle of the field really well as coming down on the tackles. Boganowski was the free safety, and so or Strong, like I said, they mix it up. He's the hardest hitter out of them, but he's the one a little bit more susceptible in coverage occasionally. He's gonna improve, but that role that he was playing was the one that Robert Spears-Jennings had, which was the other safety. Michael took that and he ran with it very well, and then Hardy took it very well with Peyton. And so with Peyton coming back, initially our expectation is Peyton was going to be gone. He's going to leave his junior year. He had the talent for it. But even with them having a breakout season, he's like, nah, I'm going to come back and play one more year with my little brother, who's the starting corner, Eli Bowen. In that case, kind of made Hardy the odd man there of, you're going to keep rotating this year, but the expectation is next year you're going to start. Well, I think in his mindset is, I think I'm starting material. I think I can play. I'm ready to go ahead and hit the start. And truth be told, Oklahoma told him, like, okay, hey, we understand. We ain't even tripping. We don't want to lose you, but at the same time, we know if your goal is to start, we won't be able to accommodate that this year. But if you go out there and you don't find something you like, you can come back. Okay. The door is wide open for you to return. And he's one of the few players that actually got that placed in front of him to be able to come back if he wanted to.
That's rare, especially in the portal era, because usually it's like, okay, you left? Okay, see ya. Like, good luck. Nice knowing you. And I think we'll see that. And honestly, that's probably one of the saddest parts of the portal, too, is a lot of these guys don't realize that, like, you just signed up to never play football again because you're not guaranteed a spot. But I think kind of, I don't want to say the gist because I don't want to, like, shoot down the great summary and, like, insight you gave us. But, like, it seems like Hardy was just a victim of timing.
Yes.
Like at the end of the day. And like timing is everything. And sometimes timing just doesn't work out. So really good get for the Buffs. I'm excited to see what he can do. Jay, appreciate you hopping on. Tell the people where they could find you, because I'm sure there's going to be some Sooners Colorado crossover as the portal eras continue on.
Oh, absolutely. Find me over at Locked On Sooners. I'm always talking OU football and college football in general. Over there on Locked On with my guy John, and you can find my channel. You can find me on social at Unfair Sports, and my channel as well as Unfair Sports as well. So appreciate it, Kevin. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, appreciate you hopping on. I'm Kevin Borba, host of Locked On Buffs. I'm free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.